I didn't need a letter. I didn't need to catch her in bed. I knew at the moment I heard the sound of a car engine revving through my yard at 2:12 a.m. Not just once. Every night, like clockwork, that bastard would circle back, tires tearing into my flowers, headlights cutting across my walls like mockery. That's how it started. Not with a kiss. Not with a lie. With tire tracks and laughter. And her voice. She laughed too. Men will be men. My new husband is a real man, she said, when I called her the first time it happened. Like the roses I planted with my bare hands didn't mean a damn thing. Like the garden I built during our marriage was just a patch of dirt for her new man-child to trample. Her name's Samantha, by the way. Sam to her friends. Sammy to me. Well, used to be. Blonde, with that fake innocent smile that can make any man think he's safe. And then take everything from him. Her new toy? Travis. Lifted truck, sleeveless shirts, and a jawline that looks like it was drawn by a 10-year-old. He didn't steal her heart. He bought it with a bottle of Jack and a new gym membership. And he sure as hell wasn't just aiming to take my wife. He wanted to take everything. My pride. My home. Even my goddamn tulips. I tried to stay calm. I tried to ignore it. But every morning, I'd wake up to crushed petals and boot prints on my lawn. Then came the final straw. The fence. My fence. Hand-built, white-painted, the last thing I finished before she told me she was confused and needed space. I walked outside at sunrise and found it kicked to the ground, splinters in the grass like broken bones. I stared at it for 10 whole minutes. No thoughts. Just breathing. I could still smell her perfume on the gate latch. Chanel. Always too expensive for my paycheck, but somehow always on her skin. That's when I snapped. I didn't call the police. What would they do? File a report and laugh when I turn around? I didn't scream into a pillow like some broken man on a sitcom. I set a trap. My father used to be a hunter. Left me a few things in the garage I never thought I'd use. But here I was, stringing wire under the soil, installing motion lights, even rigging my old speakers to blast sound when triggered. And then I waited. That night, I sat in the dark with a bottle of whiskey and a Louisville Slugger. I didn't know what I was going to do if I saw him, but I knew I'd do something. 2:14 a.m. Headlights. Gravel crunching. And laughter. But not just his. Hers. Samantha was in the truck with him, shrieking with laughter like this was some goddamn game. Like the place where I bled and built and cried didn't matter anymore. Then came the scream. It was Travis. A raw, guttural howl, like something grabbed him from the dark. The truck swerved, hit the fence post I hadn't repaired, and stalled. I stood up, heart in my throat. The light snapped on. The speakers blared a siren I had downloaded off some military website. And there he was, caught in the snare, ankle twisted in a tangle of wire, screaming like a child. Samantha jumped out of the truck, barefoot, mascara smeared, wearing one of my old flannel shirts. She ran toward him, then saw me stepping out of the shadows, holding the bat. She froze. For the first time in her life, Samantha didn't have a damn word to say. And I swear on everything she nearly fainted. But me? I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. She stood there, mouth half open, like her brain was still trying to catch up with what just happened. Her bare feet twitched on the cold gravel, eyes darting between me and Travis, who was now crying out, "What the hell is this? What the F asterisk asterisk is this? Asterisk." I didn't move. Just let the bat hang from my hand. I wanted to say something dramatic, some tough guy line I'd replay in my head later like a movie. But all I could manage was a quiet, "You picked him." That hit her harder than I expected. For a second, something flickered in her eyes. Not regret. Not guilt. Just embarrassment. Like I was an inconvenience in her little soap opera. She knelt by Travis, trying to untangle his foot, but he kept yelping every time she touched the wire. I didn't use anything sharp, just enough to catch and hold. Still, his ankle was bleeding, sock shredded, dignity gone. Finally, she stood up and turned to me. "You could have killed him." I laughed. Not loud. Just one dry chuckle that came from somewhere deep. Nah. If I wanted him dead, I wouldn't have used wire. "God, you're such a psycho," she snapped, wrapping her arms around herself. "This is why I left you." That word, left, burned like acid. I took a step forward. "You didn't leave me, Sam. You lied to me. You cheated. You smiled in my face every day while doing God knows what behind my back. And then you moved on like I never existed." She rolled her eyes. Rolled. Her eyes. "Don't be so dramatic," she said, pulling out her phone. "You weren't some angel, all right? You were boring. Predictable. You worked too much. You didn't care how I felt." I nearly dropped the bat from how hard my hand clenched. So that's your excuse? You were bored? So you let that douchebag crawl into our bed? Oh, please. She laughed bitterly. At least Travis doesn't cry after finishing. At least he doesn't ask if I felt loved every 5 minutes. Jesus, you were like a needy little puppy. That was the moment something broke inside me. Not anger, not hate, just a final snap of a rope that had been fraying for years. I walked past her and looked down at Travis. He was still whining, sweat dripping from his forehead. You good? I asked flatly. You, man, he spat. I'll sue your crazy ass. You're trespassing. For weeks. I've got footage. His mouth shut. Samantha pulled him up, and he hobbled to the truck. She turned to me, holding the door. This isn't over. You're gonna regret this. I shook my head. I already do. They left with one tire flat and smoke trailing from the exhaust. I stood there, watching the taillights disappear, breathing in the scent of torn grass and gasoline. Then, silence. The kind of silence you feel more than hear. I went back inside, sat on the couch, and stared at nothing. The whiskey was still there. So was her perfume, faint in the hallway. Ghosts of her everywhere, laughs in the kitchen, footsteps on the stairs, her humming in the shower. And it hit me. The woman I loved never existed. She was just a mask. A performance. A convenient lie I wrapped myself in because it was warm. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. But when I finally stood up, I knew something had changed. I wasn't sad. Not anymore. I was done. Done pretending. Done hoping. Done loving a woman who wouldn't flinch watching her husband's life crumble. Hell, who'd help tear it down. And that was just the beginning. Because if she thought setting foot on my property again would end the same way, she had no idea what I was capable of. The next morning, I didn't sleep. My eyes stayed open through the dawn, watching the light creep across the wreckage outside. Fence in pieces. Tulips shredded into colorful confetti. Her truck skid marks still carved into the soil like scars. But inside me, there was calm. Not peace, no, that would take time. But a kind of focus. Like everything that mattered had boiled down to one truth. I'd been played. Lied to. Mocked. And now it was time to stop being the guy who just takes the hit. Around 10 a.m., I got a knock on the door. I already knew who it was. Morning, Officer Dane said, adjusting his sunglasses. Big guy, used to be on my bowling team. Got a complaint from a Travis. Kessler. Says you assaulted him with wire on your property last night. I smiled. You mean the guy who's been trespassing every night, driving through my yard? That Travis. Dane smirked a little, like he'd been hoping I'd say that. He gave us a shaky statement. You got video? I nodded, stepped inside, and pulled the SD card from the camera in the living room. When I handed it over, Dane looked me in the eye. You're not crazy, man. Everyone in town knows what she did. Hell, half of them saw her with Travis before she even left you. That was the thing. Small towns don't keep secrets. They just delay them. After Dane left, I grabbed the storage bins from the attic. Everything that reminded me of Samantha went into them. Photos, gifts, the watch I bought her on our 5th anniversary that she said was too plain, the hand-painted mug from some stupid couple's retreat. All of it. Into the box. Into the shed. Then I took a walk. Not far. Just around the block. And sure enough, not even a mile out, I spotted Samantha's car parked in front of a boutique. I should have kept walking. But something dragged me closer. Not curiosity, clarity. I needed to see her without filters. The real her. I stood across the street, watching through the store window. There she was, laughing with a friend, Tiffany, I think her name was. One of those fake types who clings to drama like a lifeline. Samantha looked radiant, wearing a dress I'd never seen, hair curled like she had something to prove. And then, out of nowhere, Tiffany leaned in and whispered something. Samantha laughed, then mimicked a limp, Travis's limp. They both burst into giggles. My stomach twisted. That wasn't just betrayal. That was cruelty. She was mocking him too now, playing everyone. No loyalty, no remorse. I turned and left. Later that day, I got a message from an unknown number. Just one sentence. Tell your little cop buddy to back off or things get worse. I stared at the screen for a full minute. That's when it clicked. She wasn't just screwing me over emotionally. This was a game to them. A challenge. Break me. Bait me. Win. But I don't play their kind of games. I got to work. By evening, I'd called the town's HOA and requested a formal complaint filing. Every security video was backed up to cloud storage and emailed to a lawyer friend I hadn't spoken to in years. I changed the locks. I installed 2 more cameras. I dug a trench where Travis's tires had driven through, filled it with gravel and nails, and topped it with garden soil. And I printed 1 photo. It was from 4 months ago, the last picture of Samantha and me together at a charity event. We were smiling. But now, I saw it clearly. My smile was real. Hers wasn't. I taped the photo on the inside of my front door. A reminder, not of what I lost, but of what I survived. That night, I didn't wait in the shadows. I sat on the porch, beer in hand, but resting against the chair. I wasn't afraid anymore. Let them come. Let them try. Let them think I'm the same broken man they left behind. Because they had no idea what they'd just awakened. By the 3rd night, the air changed. Not just in my lungs, but everywhere. You know that feeling when a storm's about to hit? That thick, charged pressure sitting on your shoulders? That's what it felt like. I didn't hear the truck. This time, it was different. I saw the flicker of a flashlight first, 2 quick flashes by the fence line. Someone was checking for wires. They were getting smart. Or so they thought. I stayed seated on the porch, lights off, 1 boot tapping slow against the wooden steps. My hands were steady. No anger anymore, just a cold, pulsing readiness. They weren't here to talk. That much was obvious. I waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Not 1 set, 2. I rose. Quietly. Walked down the steps, cut around the side of the house. I already knew where they'd go, back path through the hedges, the same shortcut she used when we were still pretending to be in love. I caught the first shadow crouch low, fumbling with the motion sensor box. Idiot didn't even notice me until I was 2 feet behind him. You fixing my lights, Travis? I asked flatly. He spun, nearly fell backward. Samantha was behind him, clutching her phone like it was a gun. Jesus, man. Are you stalking us? He snapped, trying to puff himself up. You're on my property. Again. Samantha stepped forward, voice sharp. You think you're clever? Wiring traps, digging holes? You're a child, Nathan. Hearing her say my name used to feel intimate. Now it was like poison laced with honey. You're both trespassing, I said. I've got cameras. I've got proof. And I've got 0 patience left. Travis laughed, but it sounded off, forced, jittery. We're just here to talk, man. Chill out. No. You came to provoke me. You didn't think I'd be awake. Samantha scoffed. No. I came because you won't stop harassing me. Filing complaints? Calling cops? You think I'm scared of your little breakdown? I stepped closer. You should be. Travis moved in, face twitching with something between fear and fake courage. Back off, man. She's with me now. She's not with anyone, I replied. She's a parasite. She latches on, sucks people dry, then moves on when the attention fades. That hit something deep. Samantha flinched, just for a second. She tried to cover it with rage. You don't get to talk about me like that. I gave you the best years of my life. Did you? I said, almost smiling. Because all I remember is you lying, sneaking around, gaslighting me so hard I started thinking I was crazy. She took a step back. For the first time, I saw her face twitch, not with anger. With something else. Maybe guilt. Maybe realization. But Travis? He couldn't handle the tension. He swung. Sloppy. Wild. I sidestepped it, caught his arm mid-swing, and twisted just enough to send him into the bushes. Not hurt. Just humiliated. He groaned, coughing, mud on his face. Samantha gasped. Nate, are you serious? She shouted, running to him. You're insane. He could have broken something. He could have stayed home, I said. I turned my back and walked away. Not because I was weak, but because I knew I'd won something more valuable than a fight control. I got to the porch, turned one last time. Next time you come here, I said, loud enough to cut through the night, I'll have you both arrested. I won't hesitate. I don't care if we shared vows or memories, or if I once thought you were my forever. The person is dead. Samantha didn't answer. She helped Travis up, and they limped back toward the street like beaten dogs. She didn't look back, but I did. I stood on that porch for a long time, breathing in the cold. Something in me had changed. Something final. The house was still the same. The furniture, the walls, the paint she chose. But it didn't feel like hers anymore. It felt like mine, and I wasn't giving it up. A few days passed without incident. No tire marks. No broken fence. No Travis. No Samantha. It should have felt like relief. But peace, after chaos, feels like silence after a scream, You don't trust it. You wait for the echo. I started fixing the garden, not because I cared about flowers anymore, but because I needed my hands busy. The tulips were gone, crushed beyond saving, but I bought new ones. Not the kind Samantha liked, those perfect white ones she said made the house look classy. No, I got the wild, messy red ones. The kind that looked like they didn't care who admired them. The neighbors watched. They always do. Small town, people talk. But now they were talking for a different reason. Sympathy turned into respect. Pity into quiet nods. It's strange how fast people change sides once they see you standing instead of crawling. Then, one morning, I got a call from Rachel, Samantha's younger sister. We hadn't spoken since the divorce. I probably shouldn't be calling, she said, voice low. But you need to know. Something's going on. What kind of something? She's lying to Travis. About everything. She told him you were threatening her, that you had a restraining order. He thinks you're obsessed. I laughed. Sounds about right. She's playing him, Nate. And not just him. She's got someone else, too. Some guy from her work. I only found out because Mom saw her at the lake house last weekend, all over him. Of course. Of course she did. It was her pattern. One man to feed her ego. Another to feed her fantasy. A third waiting in the wings. Travis was never the final stop, just another pitiful layover. I thanked Rachel and hung up. But I didn't get angry. Not anymore. I felt vindicated. Later that night, I opened my laptop. I wasn't stalking, just confirming. Her socials were still public. The usual curated BS, photos of brunches, her gym outfits, her new family. But nothing with Travis for weeks. Until I saw a story. Just 2 seconds. A blurry clip of the lake. And a man's voice, not Travis's. He was laughing. She was giggling. And she called him baby. I closed the laptop, leaned back, and stared at the ceiling. My hands were shaking, but not from hurt. From something deeper. Disgust. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. Because people like Samantha don't care who they hurt. They don't care who bleeds. As long as someone's looking at them while they do it. 2 nights later, I got woken up at 3:40 a.m. Knocking. Not banging. Not loud. Just sharp, urgent tapping. I grabbed the bat again. Heart steady, body tense. When I opened the door, she was standing there. Samantha. In a robe. Hair messy. No makeup. Barefoot. The queen, dethroned. I didn't know where else to go, she said. I said nothing. She stepped forward like she had the right. I think Travis knows about the lake house. He's been drinking, yelling, throwing things. He took my phone. I just needed to feel safe. Just for a second. I held the door frame. You think this is safe? I asked, voice low. She looked up at me with those same teary eyes she used the night she said she needed space. The same ones that begged forgiveness when I found the hotel receipt in her bag. I made mistakes, she whispered. But I never stopped caring about you. I laughed. Right in her face. No. You stopped caring the second you took your ring off and at a stranger in our bed. Her face crumbled. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. That's not fair. No, I said, stepping outside and closing the door behind me. What's not fair is you thinking you can come back here like nothing happened. Like I'm your little safety net. Tears welled up. Real or fake, who knows? Where do I go? Not my problem. She tried one more trick. I miss how you used to hold me. I stared at her. You miss being loved. You miss being protected. You miss someone worshiping you like you were worth it. But not me, Samantha. You don't miss me. You miss the version of yourself you saw in my eyes. She didn't reply. I pointed to the road. You have legs. Use them. She stood there, stunned. Then, without another word, she turned and walked into the night. I didn't watch her go. I just went inside, locked the door, and exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for 3 years. The next morning, it felt like something had finally shifted inside me. Not just mentally, physically. Like a weight had been unhooked from my ribs. My chest didn't feel like it was full of barbed wire anymore. I made coffee. Black. No sugar. The way she used to hate. I opened the curtains wide and let the sunlight pour in like I hadn't done in months. The room felt different. It was still the same furniture, same paint on the walls, but it finally smelled like freedom, not perfume. A message came through around noon. Blocked number. Nice move last night. You think this is over? No name, but I didn't need one. Travis. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another ping. She said she came to your house. Did you her? That made me laugh out loud. Not because it was funny, because of how pathetic it was. The irony of it. The man who took my wife from me now accusing me of taking her back. I ignored it again. But the silence didn't last long. That afternoon, I came home from the hardware store and found the back window cracked open. The one by the kitchen. Glass on the floor. My stomach dropped. Nothing was stolen. But the fridge was open. Cupboards too. Someone had rummaged. Left the back door slightly ajar. This wasn't a robbery. This was a warning. I checked the cameras. Nothing. He cut the wires. Smart enough to know how, dumb enough to leave fingerprints. So I called Dane. He came fast, brought backup. They dusted, asked questions. Took my phone to screenshot the messages. You think he's escalating? I asked. Dane nodded. This is ego. You bruised it. Guys like him don't know how to sit with that. He paused, then leaned in. And between you and me? That woman's poison, man. You might want to think about pressing charges. Restraining order. Something. I nodded. I was already ahead of him. That night, I didn't sleep again, but not from fear. I was planning. Mapping things out. Putting together every piece I needed. Security upgrade. Lawyer consultation. I even changed the locks again, this time with reinforced plates and smart access. Let them try now. At 4 a.m., a car pulled up. I was already watching through the blinds. It wasn't Travis's truck. It was Samantha. Alone. In the same robe as before. She didn't even get out of the car this time. Just sat there, engine running, face glowing blue from her phone screen. After 15 minutes, she drove off. No knocking. No crying. Just watching. Like a ghost haunting a life she no longer belonged to. The next day, I started writing everything down. Every detail. Every date. Every word. I made a file. I made copies. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was war. But not the kind they wanted. Not emotional chaos. Not screaming matches. Not traps in the yard or late-night drives through my garden. No, I was playing a longer game now. A smarter one. And they wouldn't see it coming. Because Samantha and Travis were still trapped in the shallow drama they created. Jealousy, power, cheap victories. But I was beyond that now. I wasn't the broken husband anymore. I was the man who survived them. And soon, they were going to find out what that really meant. The next phase wasn't loud. It was paperwork. Meetings. Signatures. I found a lawyer in the city, Carla Henderson, a woman with a reputation for being ruthless in court and allergic to **T. She didn't waste time coddling me. She didn't offer sympathetic looks or soft encouragement. She just said, if she keeps showing up uninvited, and if you broke into your house, we'll bury them. I liked her instantly. We filed for a restraining order against both of them. I sent the screenshots, the police report, the surveillance timestamps, even Rachel's message. Carla told me it was more than enough. A few days later, Samantha tried again. This time, in the middle of the day. I was on the porch, eating lunch, when her car pulled up fast and stopped like she expected me to run out and greet her. She got out, in full makeup, fake smile plastered on like it hadn't already cracked weeks ago. I just want to talk, she said, like nothing had happened. No, I answered. She blinked. Seriously. I stood, walked down the steps. You've already said everything. You said it when you lied. You said it when you laughed at me on the phone. You said it when you watched your new boy toy destroy my garden and called it funny. She narrowed her eyes. You're really doing this? Filing charges? Are you that bitter? I'm that done, I said. She took a step closer. I didn't move. Travis is losing it, she muttered. He's paranoid. He blames me for everything now. I made a mistake. Okay. I thought I wanted excitement, but no, I cut in. You wanted worship. You wanted me to keep sacrificing, bleeding, giving, while you took and lied and danced around behind my back. Her face twisted. The mask cracked. You were boring, Nate. You never made me feel alive. Travis, he wanted me. I nodded slowly. Yeah, he wanted you. And now he doesn't even trust you. That's your pattern, isn't it? Burn one down, then blame the smoke. She said nothing. I reached into my pocket and handed her an envelope. Thick. Sealed. She took it with confusion, then opened it. Inside were printed screenshots. Her messages to Travis. His threats. Her lake house trip, thanks to Rachel. All labeled, highlighted, timestamped. Her face turned pale. You think this scares me? She whispered. No, I said. But it'll scare your boss. And your family. And the judge. She gritted her teeth, fingers trembling. You're a real piece of work. Maybe, I said. but I'm not your piece anymore. She threw the envelope at me like a tantrum, stormed back to the car, and slammed the door so hard it echoed down the street. I stood there until her taillights disappeared again. That night, I had dinner in silence. No more checking the windows. No more jumping at headlights. For the first time in months, I didn't expect anyone to show up. But they still did. Around 11:30 p.m., a rock hit the front door. Loud. Sharp. On purpose. I opened it without hesitation. Looked out. No one. Just silence. And then I saw it. Spray painted on my fence. Bitter B***. Real mature, Travis. I smiled. Because now, it wasn't just my word. Now there was vandalism. Evidence. I called Dane. He came in 10 minutes. Took photos. Logged the incident. Almost like he wants to get arrested, he muttered. No, I said. He wants to feel like he still matters. Like he still has power. The next morning, I installed a new motion-triggered light system. Loud alarms. High lumens. Full front yard coverage. I bought it with money I'd been saving for a vacation with Samantha years ago. Felt like poetic justice. That evening, as I watered the new red tulips, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. I looked older, but sharper. Like a man who just crawled out of a fire and realized he liked the smell of smoke. And I smiled. Not because of revenge, but because I was still standing. And she was just running in circles, digging her own hole. A week later, I got the call I didn't expect, but should have. It was Rachel again. Whispering. Nervous. You need to hear this, she said. Travis got arrested last night. He trashed a bar, punched a guy who asked about Samantha, screamed something about being set up. Cops had to drag him out. I stayed silent. She continued, he's spiraling. My sister, she's trying to distance herself now. Playing the victim. Pretending like she had no idea he was unstable. She even told Mom you were manipulating her. That you're dangerous. Of course she did. Thanks for the heads up, I said. But I wasn't surprised. I was done being surprised by her. 2 days later, the court granted the restraining orders. Permanent. Signed and sealed. Samantha didn't even show. Travis came in drunk and got escorted out after yelling at the judge. The bailiff didn't even blink. I walked out of that courthouse with my hands in my pockets, wind in my face, and not a single weight on my back. That night, I walked around the yard. My garden was blooming again, messy, wild, full of color. Not perfect, but real. Just like me. I thought about everything. The betrayal. The lies. The humiliation. The way I kept trying to fix something she never intended to keep. And then, I remembered the worst day of it all. The day I found that hotel receipt in her purse. No name. No apology. Just a folded piece of truth tucked into a zipped pocket I was never supposed to see. That was the day I stopped being her husband. The rest was just formality. Now? Now I was finally free. People asked if I'd ever date again. Maybe. Someday. But not because I'm lonely. Not because I need someone to fill the space. That's the thing I learned. You can love someone so hard you forget to love yourself. You can lose yourself trying to save someone who's busy drowning other people. So here's what I'd tell any man going through it. Don't beg. Don't chase. Don't lose your mind trying to understand someone who lied without blinking. Watch. Learn. Adapt. And when the time comes, let them go. Fully. Finally. Without looking back. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, hurts a woman like Samantha more than seeing the man she broke become unbreakable.